he said that he was independent of any artistic movement, but in doing that, he created his own artistic movement. But Corbett and his followers were affected by a group of landscape artists that drew or painted the countryside near Paris, and they were also affected by a trend toward using more countryside surroundings. The painting in a large canvas of Courbet's, called A Burial at Ornans, caused a lot of criticism. It painted the funeral of his uncle and showed mourners. It has no religious importance and no large or impressive moral idea of life and death was used, and it was just an ordinary it was just a simple painting of an ordinary event. Okay, so realism, the practitioners, the people who painted by realism, became involved in the politics of that time. Courbet and other artists were accused of being socialists because they have painted ordinary people and their effort. Okay? Accused of, if you accuse a person of something, that means if you accuse a person of doing something bad or illegal, okay, you say that you believe that that person did it. That's what accusing means. Socialists are the people who believes in socialism. Socialism is the idea that all the people should be equal, okay, and the main industries should be owned by the state, okay, not individuals. That's the idea of socialism. Struggle is making a great effort, okay? In the end, eventually, the effects of realism spread to other countries and other area of work, including theater, sculpture, and even literature. Ultimately means finally, usually after a long and complicated series of events. Influences strong effect, okay? Fields of work means areas of work. And realism is thought to be the thing that developed or caused the movement of naturalism and impressionism. Consider means think of something as something. Forerunner. For means in the front. Okay, so forerunner is someone that runs at the front of something. So it means something that existed before, something similar, and causing the other things, similar things to happen or develop. Okay, that's a forerunner. Naturalism is a theory of art or literature saying that objects, people or things should be described or represented as in reality. Okay, it's very similar to realism. Impressionism focuses on the effects of light on a subject, okay, on something, rather than exact detail. That's what Impressionism is. And what the realism left and still affecting is that it gave artists the freedom to paint as they wanted without having to follow a movement, and it enabled them to paint the way that they looked at things. Do you understand? Legacy is what someone leaves you when they die, such as money or property, or something that's still something that has a lasting effect after it disappears is a legacy. Thus, enabling means and thus it enabled, okay, and thus it enabled them, okay. Vision is the way that you see things. Embraced is the closest meaning to what? Embrace means holding someone with your arms tightly, and in this case it means accepting and starting to support and believing that. Okay, so what's the closest? Accepted, right? Hugged is the most basic meaning of embracing, but in this case it's not. The meaning is not hugging. Regard means to look at something as something, think of something as something, all right? Portray means to draw something, represent something by drawing, okay? Which of the sentences below best expresses the essential information in the highlighted sentence? Where's the highlighted sentence? Realism is different, okay? It drew ordinary people doing ordinary things, such as working in the fields, meeting people on the road, sitting with their families. This is quite easy, right? So it states what realism is, okay? And it states the examples of it. So let's find out what the answer is. By showing people doing things they sometimes did, they created the realist school. It's not about this, right? It's not about someone creating realist school. It's about what realism is. And it's not about showing people doing things they sometimes do. It's about drawing what people usually do, okay? Always do. So A is not the answer. There was nothing ordinary about realism despite its subject matter. What does that mean? It means the subject matter was what was drawn or painted was ordinary, but nothing else was ordinary. This is not it, right? Everything was ordinary. The art of showing regular people doing typical activities was called realism. This is right? This states correctly what realism is. The everyday activities were captured on the canvases by some of these painters. It's not by some of these painters, it should be by all of these painters. And this statement is not showing the best, is not expressing the essential information in the highlighted passage well. So this is not the answer. According to paragraph 3, which of the following is true about Gustave Courbet? Which one? He set out to establish, he started to create a movement of art unique from others which existed at that time. Set out means to start to do something with a purpose. Establish means to make something in a way that it is likely to last a long time. Unique means the only one of its kind, alright? So he didn't want to make a movement, right? What did he say? He claimed to be independent of all the movements. He claimed to be independent of any artistic movement, but in doing so he created his own. So he didn't have an intention to make a movement, so this is not right. He instructed his followers in how to create art with a more realistic look to it. It didn't say he instructed his followers, right? He just did his work. His work, A Burial at Ornans, received widespread acclaim by contemporary art critics. Received widespread acclaim. What is acclaim? Acclaim is public praising, saying that the person has done a good job. By contemporary, what does that mean? Contemporary means modern, or things that belongs to that time, okay? Con, or com, C-O-M, right, relates to, it means together or with, right? Temp means time, so it means at the same time. At the same time as us is modern, at the same time as them is the past, okay? So A Burial at Ornans didn't receive widespread acclaim, but it received what? Criticism, right? What was the word they used? Just criticism. D. Although he made a lot of effort to be independent, his work was affected by the paintings of others. This is right? Because if you look at the passage, in actuality, Courbet and his followers were influenced by the school of landscape artists that used the countryside near Paris as their subject, and also by a trend toward using more rural settings in works of art. So that's the answer. The word there in the passage is what? Their struggles. Depictions of common people and their struggles. So what? There is common people. Very easy.